Is it possible the ghostwriter dislikes Harry? I know people who know him. I've heard interesting things about him. I know he's, as I have said previously, very into the 12-step program and the whole druggy alky business. It is not the job of a ghostwriter to do anything but put the thoughts of the incompetent who requires a ghostwriter.
Which is very revelatory, as you know, about Meghan and Harry. I got absolutely no help from the palace whatsoever, on the contrary.
I think more people want something in-depth in terms of the review of the Tom Bowell book than don't. So some people just wanted one episode, other people want more.
No, I choose people who don't want to be written about on the whole, whose lives are shrouded in mystery, and they want to hide their secrets, and I just love digging away to find out what they don't want us to.
Prince Harry reportedly believed legal pressure might quiet his loudest critics, but the opposite seems to be happening. The noise just got turned all the way up. The moment reports surfaced that he was considering action against Lady Colin Campbell and biographer Tom Bowell.
I personally think there are times when he should have. You are absolutely right. The book is littered with inconsistencies and anomalies, where Harry is on the one hand raging about people and how terrible they are because they are doing to him exactly what he is doing to someone else, but he's a wonderful person. But they're terrible. When I was pregnant, and Harry says, oh, there was a little discussion before we got married. Well, something's wrong right there. But anyway.
I think it's mixed. I think that once she saw Meghan when she came to London in 2016, 2018, and she reached out to Victoria to get freebies,
the situation escalated fast, and suddenly the conversation wasn't just tabloid chatter anymore. It turned into whispers about hidden details, disputed timelines, and the kind of claims that could shake public perception in a major way. Online clips, commentary, and speculation started spreading like wildfire, pushing this story from casual gossip into something much bigger and more intense.
He had to admit that actually those stories had been published by other newspapers, days prior, and that's where they got the information from, or the fact sometimes the palace released information themselves and Prince Harry wasn't aware of it, or the fact that, it was just sources and friends or people close to Prince Harry.
And I must say, it's always beyond Meghan. Meghan doesn't believe in reconciliation. Look at her appalling relationship with her father. She's a hard nut.
All Samantha's questions from her lawyers, whether she lied about Samantha, about Thomas Markle in her notorious interview with Oprah Winfrey. So that's a major breakthrough for Samantha Markle, for Thomas Markle, and for the truth.
What began as questions about personal events quickly morphed into talk of potential court battles and reputation risks, with commentators suggesting this could expose details that were never meant for public discussion. The phrase, "the palace never wanted poured," started popping up everywhere, adding even more heat to the narrative. Sources claim Harry is deeply frustrated behind the scenes, and insiders describe the mood as tense and emotional. According to reports, he's weighing serious legal options, not just to protect his name, but to challenge what he believes are unfair claims.
Meghan left Britain and then did the Oprah Winfrey interview. It's been really poisonous.
Well, he does it because he needs a profile. That's the only way they can get money, by showing the profile. And for Netflix, everything is built around the future documentary series to promote the Sussexes.
Is married to a professional journalist who was the editress of the Evening Standard.
Fondness for, shall we say, stretching the truth. Could the single case see Harry caught up in his own web of lies? Well, to answer this and much more, I'm delighted to welcome the world's top royal author. He, of course, published Revenge, Meghan, Harry and the War Between the Windsors, Tom Bowell. So, Tom, this feels like a significant development tonight. What's happening?
Well, if I was Meghan, I'd be undoubtedly very worried tonight what the judge decided.
The controversy centers around critics pointing out what they call inconsistencies or gaps in publicly shared information about private family matters. And they didn't hold back when raising those concerns. Observers say the reaction was intense once those comments aired publicly, with talk that Harry felt personally targeted rather than casually criticized. From his perspective, supporters argue The commentary crossed a line into questioning his integrity and intentions. Meanwhile, critics claim they're simply asking fair questions, creating a standoff that feels more like a showdown than a debate.
I was shocked to hear that. I mean, is that who he is?
Well, I think Harry is a very complicated person because he's not very intelligent and undoubtedly remains damaged by the early death of his mother, Diana. And he very foolishly blames the media for her, in his words, murdered her, which is complete nonsense. But I think he loved the adulation. He loved it when he was being praised, especially when he was a soldier. But then he became criticized. Meghan has got no real income anymore. She's finished.
Right.
The Netflix series is over. There's no great podcast. They don't generate any money. And I don't see where she is going from here. I think she has a major problem.
Why Meghan?
Well, because she poses a challenge to the royal family, and she's a fascinating person. I mean, she's a person who started from nothing and has become a world global star. And that route to the top has never really been properly reported and examined and investigated.
What makes this even more explosive is that the people involved aren't backing down at all. Lady Colin Campbell and Tom Bower have long reputations for controversial royal commentary, and they appear ready for whatever comes next. They've suggested they have sources, documentation, and research to support their claims, which only adds more intrigue and raises the stakes dramatically.
I was shocked to hear that. I mean, is that who he is?
Well, I think Harry is a very complicated person because he's not very intelligent and undoubtedly remains damaged by the early death of his mother, Diana. And he very foolishly blames the media for her, in his words, murdered her, which is complete nonsense. But I think he loved the adulation. He loved it when he was being praised, especially when he was a soldier. But then he became criticized. Meghan has got no real income anymore. She's finished.
Right.
The Netflix series is over. There's no great podcast. They don't generate any money. And I don't see where she is going from here. I think she has a major problem.
Why Meghan?
Well, because she poses a challenge to the royal family, and she's a fascinating person. I mean, she's a person who started from nothing and has become a world global star. And that route to the top has never really been properly reported and examined and investigated.
One particularly bold message reportedly coming from that side was essentially, "Sue me if you dare," signaling zero fear about a potential courtroom clash. Legal analysts warned that if a case actually happens, it could open doors to private records and testimony becoming public, which would instantly intensify scrutiny. Once information enters legal proceedings, controlling the narrative becomes almost impossible, and that possibility alone has people watching closely. Adding another layer of mystery, Buckingham Palace offered no detailed response, sticking only to the familiar line, "We don't engage in speculation." That silence didn't calm anything. It amplified curiosity instead.
That Samantha only called herself Markle when Meghan was engaged to Harry, which Samantha says is a total lie. Interestingly, Samantha also says that Meghan's story about having a Ford Explorer where she could only get in through the boot was also untrue. She goes through a whole load of Meghan's lies. So by July, that is what the judge has said, these depositions, this cross-examination of Meghan will take place for the trial to start in October. So Meghan really has a problem because until today, her lawyers have been saying this is so ridiculous, we refuse to even engage with Samantha Markle. They stonewalled.
He has more power than the courts and the king. That's what he's trying to do. He's getting the government to undermine the legal system and the institution of the monarchy. It couldn't be simpler. Harry has security when he comes to this country. It's assessed on a case-by-case basis. If he stays in a palace, and he's offered to stay in palaces, and refuses to do so because he's trying to manipulate the system.
Online communities began dissecting past interviews, public appearances, and timelines with almost investigative intensity, turning spectators into amateur analysts overnight. If this conflict ever moves into a courtroom, experts say the reputational impact could be enormous for everyone involved. Public credibility, legacy, and long-term image are all on the line.
Meghan had already recorded their poison for Netflix. It was already edited. All the stuff that we heard today about Charles lying, about William screaming and shouting, was in the can, was being edited.
I had always looked at it more as, oh, she landed this prince. That's what she was out for. We know that she was hunting for someone of wealth, of notoriety in Great Britain, and she landed, the biggest you could land. But it worked the other way too. He was feeling irrelevant. She comes along. She's a, somewhat well-known person, or at least that was his impression. And she's mixed race. She could elevate his star as well. It worked both ways.
Well, you're absolutely right. I mean, what I discovered was, of course, that she was hunting for a man in England from 2013 onwards.
And the more attempts are made to manage the story, the more unpredictable the reaction seems to become. Then, just when the drama seemed maxed out, Tom Bauer claimed his team searched for confirming details tied to key events and came up empty, a statement that instantly sparked even more debate and speculation. There were claims of missing confirmations and unclear documentation, and instead of looking like a small issue, it started sounding like a full alarm going off. Commentators pointed to what they described as gaps, saying the absence of clear records wasn't just unusual, it was attention-grabbing in a way that made people pause and ask questions.
Had to admit that actually those stories had been published by other newspapers, days prior, and that's where they got the information from. Or the fact sometimes the palace released information themselves and Prince Harry wasn't aware of it, or the fact that it was just sources and friends or people close to Prince Harry.
These are words which he has rehearsed and which he's delivering to make a point, to make his own fortune. And of course, the casualty is not only the royal family, but Britain's reputation too. Across the world, it is really quite tragic that he's been allowed and encouraged to make these sort of allegations, which has no evidence. And of course, full of contradictions, dishonest.
Harry, whereas he's come over, he didn't stay after the funeral, he didn't stay after the coronation. I think he's come because his father clearly asked him to come, but I don't see any sign of forgiveness from the other members of the family for the terrible lies and disloyalty which he's shown.
Lady Colin Campbell didn't hold back either. She suggested openly that the lack of visible proof might point to something bigger, even mentioning theories that had previously only circulated quietly online. Those ideas had existed in the background for years, but suddenly they were front and center, getting discussed in public spaces where millions could hear them. She also referenced viral clips of Meghan Markle during pregnancy appearances saying, "No pregnant woman moves like that," which instantly reignited debate across social media platforms.
Harry is definitely delusional. He's always had tendencies to delusions. We need to cut him some slack with the possibility, as I have said before, that he might have been born, shall we say, handicapped? Certainly, he's no brain box. On the contrary, it doesn't help that he doesn't have a mind to be in with, and that he's out of the mind he doesn't have. But the impertinence, the arrogance, is truly beyond belief. Because really, what did that dowry offer constitute? Oh, it was meant to give the message that, oh, I want to be wonderful. I don't want to upstage Pa or Big Willie. But I need you to know how important I am. So I will make the offer, as if Harry and Meghan's engagements are now going to set the agenda for the royal family.
This time, the reaction was different. The internet didn't just brush it off with jokes. Speculation spread rapidly, with people analyzing old footage, interviews, and timelines in extreme detail. Observers say this is exactly why Prince Harry is reportedly so unsettled, because the conversation moved from niche corners into mainstream broadcasts where it couldn't be ignored anymore. Supporters worry that when personal family matters become public debate, reputations can shift overnight. Analysts say if public trust starts cracking, the carefully built image around the couple's story could face serious pressure. And once doubt enters the conversation, controlling how it spreads becomes almost impossible.
Meghan, she's ambitious, she's good looking, she is determined, she succeeded in getting a good script with suits and everything, and in the end she succeeded in getting a man who built her up, who she was looking for all along. But on the other hand, on the way, there were many victims. And I think that the victims are obviously the people I looked for, because she did her very best to prevent her friends and the people she'd worked with.
Why else are you being sort of suspicious and secretive around labor and birth? And people theorized and claimed that the couple needed time to stage a story because Meghan didn't actually deliver the children.
Harry doesn't have the brains, and Meghan has the ability. Not enough brains to have figured out that being too clever by half is stupid by whole, but enough brains to think, well, I'm so clever, I can outsmart everybody. And anybody who gets to see what I'm about, sorry, I forgot, the hands have to flash after all. She is a member of, well, isn't she the woman from La Mancha? Windmills everywhere. You notice she's gone quiet on Instagram for about a month now. There was a whole load of postings when she was pushing the narrative that I'm a great success.
Meanwhile, both Lady Colin Campbell and Tom Bower insist their motivation isn't attention, but information. They claim their statements come from sources, internal contacts, and witnesses, with one cryptic comment mentioning validation by an RBC, a phrase that confused many but sounded dramatic enough to keep people talking. That mystery only added more intrigue to an already heated situation. The discussion didn't stop there either. Bower expanded his criticism to include security disputes, financial pressures, and decisions surrounding the couple's departure from royal duties. According to his view, media coverage wasn't just reporting events, but influencing how the narrative formed. Now, critics say that influence appears to be weakening, which is fueling even more commentary. Reports suggest Harry's response was firm denial, with legal advisors stepping in quickly. Defamation concerns were raised, but that's when Lady Colin Campbell reportedly responded with striking confidence, saying, "Let him sue me."
Harry, I said it before and I'm saying it again. Harry and Meghan's marriage is in big trouble. Yes, she reeled him back in when she needed him performing like a performing seal. And yes, he obliged. And yes, there was a pretense that everything was okay. And I'm sure she put on that Stan Getz record for Harry so that he would be convinced that the greatest pleasures in life are when you're blowing in the wind. Well, unless, of course, you're roasting chicken. But
that bold reaction resonated strongly with audiences who were already following the situation closely. She also warned that legal action could expose far more information than anyone expects, which only intensified curiosity online. Behind the scenes, insiders claim the pressure isn't just about headlines anymore, but about long-term reputation and legacy. Observers say the stakes have rarely felt higher for Harry personally. Some commentators even argue the implications could reach institutional territory, because questions about lineage and legitimacy, even when speculative, carry symbolic weight in royal systems.
So 2025 was the beginning of something very, very exciting for her, because not least With Love Meghan was going to appear a few weeks into the new year. And then, of course, it all goes wrong. But on that day, New Year's Day, she could only hope, well, it's a new year, it can only get better.
Meghan made that accusation, not Oprah Winfrey. Also, I think they're reserving that sort of attack for Meghan's own book, for which we must now look forward in a year's time or something.
Exactly.
But I do think it's very interesting.
And she has made it. Well, she was a third-rate acting, and she's now a global icon. That isn't success, and she wanted it. She said to her father when she was a young girl, "I just want to be famous on the red carpet," and she's made it. But I think on the way, what she's done is damaging. And that's what the book does. It tells the story of a girl who came from a broken family, who struggled very hard, and is, in her terms, has made it.
That possibility alone has turned what began as controversy into something much more serious in perception. Bauer added another explosive claim during a broadcast, saying his team checked records at Santa Barbara Cottage Hospital and Portland Hospital, the locations publicly associated with key events, and found no confirming trace. He stated that if events occurred there, they left no visible footprint, which instantly sent online communities into overdrive. After that, viewers began rewatching archived footage frame by frame, slowing down clips, replaying movements, and examining every detail like investigators trying to solve a mystery, turning the entire situation into a non-stop digital frenzy. Viewers began pointing out what they believed were unusual visual details in old footage, describing movements and angles that, to them, didn't seem typical. Moments that had once been ignored or dismissed suddenly became the focus of intense online analysis, with people replaying clips repeatedly and debating every frame. What used to sound like far-fetched speculation started getting treated more seriously in certain circles, simply because so many people were talking about it at once. Lady Colin Campbell added even more intensity to the conversation by reminding audiences that royal traditions around major family announcements have historically followed very structured patterns. She pointed out that official statements, medical confirmations, and public photo opportunities have often been part of past royal events, and she argued that the differences this time were noticeable. According to her perspective, the absence of certain familiar elements wasn't random, it was intentional. And those claims instantly struck a nerve with viewers already paying close attention. The reaction grew louder partly because Buckingham Palace stayed cautious and brief in its public messaging. Officials repeated the familiar line, "We don't engage in speculation," without offering detailed clarification. For many observers, that neutrality didn't calm the situation. It fueled more curiosity instead, because people often interpret silence in different ways depending on what they already believe.
I'm told Meg's baby has had a total collapse. 10 tears left eye and a few on the right as well. Curled up in a ball. You'd have to have a heart of stone and not to be moved by the performance. I mean, she made Euripides look as if he didn't understand what drama was all about. Curled up in a ball. Look at all I've sacrificed for you and your family. And look at the way you've repaid me. I gave up my career for you.
Tom Bauer then expanded the discussion beyond personal matters, arguing that the controversy connects to a broader media strategy. He claimed that when criticism increases, public narratives around other issues are emphasized to shift attention, describing it as a protective approach that has worked in the past, but may now be losing effectiveness. Whether accurate or not, that claim added another layer to an already complicated situation. He also referenced business ventures, media partnerships, and publishing deals, suggesting financial pressures could be influencing decisions and public messaging. According to his interpretation, maintaining a strong public image isn't just about reputation, it's tied to long-term opportunities and influence. Critics who share that view say any challenge to credibility could affect everything connected to the couple's brand identity. Lady Colin Campbell echoed similar themes, but with sharper commentary, questioning motivations and expectations around status and wealth. Her remarks were blunt and controversial, suggesting mismatched assumptions about financial realities and institutional connections.
Prince Harry and Meghan lying about the Princess of Wales, Catherine. Now, ITV has announced that Prince Harry has taken part in a documentary about phone hacking. I'm just curious to know, is violating someone else's privacy really the hill Prince Harry wants to die on? I mean, has he read the pages of Spare?
Well, she's actually composed again, and never talks about it. I mean, the whole problem she found with this last Vanity Fair issue, the hustle issue, is that she couldn't control the content. And she is somebody who believes, understandably, she's got to control everything down to the last full.
Supporters disagree strongly with those claims, but the statements still spread widely because they were so direct and emotionally charged. As the debate grows, more people are asking whether public projects are driven primarily by mission, personal goals, or financial necessity. That shift in perception matters because reputation often depends on public trust, and once questions begin circulating, they can be difficult to contain. Analysts say what started as a manageable public relations challenge now feels far more unpredictable and high stakes. Legal experts warn that if Prince Harry moves forward with legal action, the process itself could introduce new risks. Court proceedings sometimes require disclosure of private information, meaning attempts to defend a reputation could unintentionally reveal additional details. That possibility turns any lawsuit into a strategic gamble rather than a guaranteed solution. Lady Colin Campbell's defiant stance has become a rallying point for critics who feel strong opinions are often discouraged. Her statement, "Let him sue me," wasn't just a response. It sounded like a direct challenge, inviting the dispute into a legal arena where evidence would be examined publicly. Commentators say that's exactly why hesitation might exist, because defamation cases can shift scrutiny toward the person filing them just as much as the target. With public curiosity already at a peak, a courtroom battle would attract massive attention, turning the controversy into non-stop global headlines. Meanwhile, the palace's restrained communication style continues to leave room for interpretation. And behind closed doors, observers believe discussions are likely far more complex than the short public statements suggest. The tension around this situation isn't fading, it's building. And insiders say the pressure behind the scenes is reaching a boiling point. Reports suggest advisors close to Prince Harry are weighing every possible move because whatever happens next could define how the public sees him for years. Legal action might sound strong on paper, but it also comes with unpredictable consequences. And that's exactly what has observers glued to every new development. At the same time, critics like Lady Colin Campbell and Tom Bower continue speaking with confidence, showing no signs of backing down. Their message has been consistent. They believe their claims are supported, and they're prepared to defend them if challenged. That bold stance has only amplified public curiosity because people tend to pay attention when someone appears completely unfazed by potential legal threats. Meanwhile, the media spotlight keeps shifting toward the broader reputation battle surrounding Harry and Meghan Markle. Analysts say this isn't just about one controversy anymore. It's about credibility, influence, and long-term public trust. When public figures build a brand around authenticity and purpose, even small doubts can create big ripple effects, and right now those ripples are spreading fast across online conversations. Behind palace walls, the response has remained measured and minimal, with Buckingham Palace continuing its cautious approach to public commentary. That restraint might be strategic, but it also leaves space for speculation to grow, which is exactly what's happening. Social media discussions, opinion panels, and commentary channels are all feeding into the same cycle. Attention creating more attention, speculation creating more speculation. Some commentators believe the biggest risk isn't any single claim, but the accumulation of controversy over time. When multiple narratives collide, legal threats, media debates, reputation questions, the overall story can start feeling unstable, even if individual pieces remain unproven. That perception alone can shift public opinion, and perception often matters just as much as facts in the world of celebrity and public life. For now, everything feels like it's balanced on the edge of a major turning point, with supporters and critics watching closely to see who makes the next move. Whether this escalates into legal confrontation or fades into another chapter of ongoing public debate, one thing is clear: the spotlight isn't going anywhere, and the stakes have rarely felt higher for everyone involved. Insiders claim senior members of the royal circle are feeling uneasy because the institution has always depended on one core idea: unquestioned legitimacy. When even whispers start circulating about irregularities connected to private family matters, analysts say it can create instability far beyond the individuals involved. Instead of calming speculation, the ongoing silence is being interpreted by some observers as tension, and that perception alone is enough to keep the story alive and growing. One longtime royal historian reportedly warned that doubts about lineage have historically shaken powerful dynasties, sometimes with lasting consequences. He explained that in the modern era, where information spreads instantly online, even small uncertainties can explode into major controversies within hours. Social media didn't just react to recent broadcasts, it erupted, with hashtags calling for transparency flooding timelines across multiple platforms and drawing millions of views in a matter of hours. Soon after, online commentators began revisiting old footage of Meghan Markle and Prince Harry, analyzing public appearances frame by frame like investigators studying evidence. Clips that had once been ignored were suddenly being discussed seriously, with captions questioning authenticity pulling massive engagement numbers. The atmosphere shifted from casual curiosity to intense scrutiny, and once that kind of momentum starts online, it becomes nearly impossible to slow down. Tom Bauer didn't limit his criticism to one topic either. He expanded it to the couple's overall public image, claiming that behind a polished exterior, there may be significant pressure tied to finances, expectations, and reputation management. He pointed to media deals and publishing projects as examples, arguing they could represent essential income streams rather than optional ventures. At one point, he stated bluntly, "They're cornered," suggesting a belief that mounting pressure is influencing decisions. Meanwhile, Lady Colin Campbell appeared more defiant than ever, hinting at timelines, communications, and witnesses she claims could support her statements. Her confidence was unmistakable when she said, "Show every document, every log, every record. Let the truth come out." That level of certainty caught public attention immediately because people tend to focus on anyone who seems completely unafraid of potential legal consequences. Observers say her stance is particularly striking because she isn't perceived as having major commercial ventures tied to her reputation, which creates an image of someone with little to lose. Whether accurate or not, that perception adds to her credibility among supporters and intensifies the overall drama surrounding the situation. Now attention shifts back toward Harry, with royal watchers suggesting he faces a difficult choice with no easy outcome. If he steps back, critics may interpret it as avoidance. But if he moves forward legally, the process itself could introduce new scrutiny into private areas he has worked hard to protect. That dilemma is exactly why analysts describe the situation as high risk, high stakes, and deeply unpredictable. The irony, commentators say, is that attempts to control public narratives sometimes create even more attention, especially in the digital era where every headline, clip, and rumor can spread globally within minutes. With Buckingham Palace maintaining its cautious communication approach and critics growing louder, the story continues to expand rather than fade. One thing is clear. This situation has moved beyond simple public relations challenges and into something that feels much bigger in perception, with global audiences watching closely. Questions remain about whether this is about justice, reputation, or control, and as the debate continues, people keep asking, what do you think? Is this about justice, reputation, or control? If you watch this and have thoughts, drop them in the comments below. If this breakdown made you see things differently, hit subscribe and stay locked in for more deep dives like this. Don't forget to like the video and share it with someone who needs to see it.